This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
We mentioned last night that the Ramban's understanding of the prophecy of the Torah of Hishbati Chaya Ra Min Haaretz means Rebbe Shem will nullify the vicious nature of wild animals. As Ramban explained, that originally it was not the nature of animals to be predators or to be vicious or to attack. That was superimposed. That was, so to speak, that was something that was brought upon the animals because of the original sin. That was a new nature that was superimposed on the animal because Adam HaRishon was chaytei, and now Adam HaRishon's life is in danger from the animals, and once the animals consumed humans, they consumed other animals as well. Well, says Ramban, in the end of days, when Umal ha'aretz deya as Hashem, at that point of time, the animals will revert back to their original nature of being peaceful and no longer be predators. And the Ramban explains this is the meaning of the nevuah of the ze'ev, v'gar ze'ev im keves, as the pasuk that we've been speaking about in this series. Now let me say over, the Rav Shlomo Kluger in the Sefer Imrei Shefer has a very interesting take on this, similar to the Ramban, that really animals by nature are not predators. However, once man sinned, so now animals have the authority and the right to be vicious. But the Rav Shlomo Kluger explains that Chazal tell us that an animal will not attack a person until the Adam has the tzura of a behema. Why is that? Well, says Rav Shlomo Kluger, because Rebbe Shem wants to protect the tzaddikim. Tzaddikim who always maintain the tzelem alekim are not endangered of being attacked by a wild animal. But an Adam that degrades himself and sheds the aura of the tzelem alekim, he then appears to the animal as a behema and is then in danger of being attacked by a behema. As Chazal say, in chayra maishelas ba'adam elam ke nidmeloi kebehema. However, says Rav Shlomo Kluger, la'asid lavai, when kulam yadu oisi, when everyone will know Hashem, la'asid lavai kimal ha'aretz deya, and then all bnei Adam will be on the madriga of Adam. Memela, an animal will never need to be vicious to an Adam because the Adam will never be nidmeh kebehema. Well, then an animal won't need to attack another animal. See, says Rav Shlomo Kluger, when people were chaytei and they had the characteristics of behema, well, in order for them to be punished, Hashem engendered in the behema that a behema will attack another behema in order to be able to attack an Adam that's nidmeh kebehema. But once that's no longer a phenomenon, once there are no bnei Adam that are nidmeh kebehema, there is likewise no need for a behema to attack another behema, says Rav Shlomo Kluger. So let's just say over, we began saying this last night, the lamdos that we learn out from the machlokes in the Sifra regarding the meaning of Hishbati Chaya Ra Min Haaretz. Let's begin with, there's a mitzvah d'oraisa, the Torah says in Parshas Bayom Harishon Tashbisu Sa'ar Mibatechem. Rashi Masechta Pesachim Daf Dalanu Be'ezrei Maschel Be'Bittul Ba'alma. Rashi learns the mitzvah of bittul chametz is learned from the pasuk of tashbisu. That tashbisu is hashbasa belev. Rashi says v'hashbasa delev hi hashbasa. Well, the Ran also likewise says that the mitzvah of tashbisu is bittul, like the pasuk says lo yira, like the pasuk says tashbisu and unkos taiches tivatulan. So both Rashi and the Ran learn the mitzvah of tashbisu is bittul chametz. Comes the Even HaEzel, comes the Visser Zalman Meltzer in Even HaEzel Hilchos Chametz Matzah Perek Beis Halacha Aleph. Says the Even HaEzel, Rashi and the Ran learn tashbisu as a mitzvah of bittul. But how could that be? After all, what about the pasuk in this week's parasha of Hishbati Chaya Ra Min Haaretz, which Pashut Pshat says Even HaEzel means that Rebbe Shem will remove wild animals from this world entirely. So we see that the lashon of the Hishbati or Tashbisu means to destroy, to completely remove. How then can these Rishonim learn that it refers to Bittul Belev? So it comes Rav Betzalel Zolti in the Mishnah Siyavit, Hilchos Pesach, Siman Ches, as well as the Rogachover and Shal Sechuvah, Tzafnas Paneach, HaChadosh, Siman Lamed Daled. And they both say that actually the definition of Tashbisu will be dependent on how you learn the pasuk of Hishbati Chayara. Because if you look in the Sifra on the pasuk, Hishbati Chayara, says Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ma'avira min ha'olam, Hashem will remove them from the world. And if that's the case, if the Hishbati Chayara min ha'aretz means complete destruction, complete removal from the world, then Tashbisu would likewise mean complete removal from the world. And in fact, says Rabbi Tzal Zolti, Rabbi Yehuda's shita is ein bir chametz ela sreifa. Rabbi Yehuda's l'shita say. Rabbi Yehuda, who holds v'shvati chayra min haaretz means completely remove it, learns that tashbisu by chametz is burning. Ma she'ein kain, says Rabbi Tzal Zolti. If you look in the Sifra, Reb Shimon says v'shvati chayra min haaretz mashbisan shal yizoiku. It doesn't mean they'll be utterly removed. It just means that their nature will be tempered. Likewise, according to that, you can learn that the mitzvah of tashbisu is merely to nullify the chametz, be mevatel the ill effects of chametz, that you no longer own it. The way the Rogachover says it is, when you get rid of something, are you getting rid of the chaymer? You're getting rid of the actual entity, or just the tzura, the purpose of the entity? Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to get rid of the chaymer. You have to get rid of the entity. You get rid of the wild animals, v'shvati chayara min haaretz, and you get rid of the chametz. Rabbi Shimon says no, you get rid of the tzura. You get rid of the evil, the wildness of the animals. The chametz, my connection to the chametz, my ownership of the chametz, I could be mavatalat. Let's just end off with a tremendous lumdus of Rabbi Yosef Engel in the Gilyonei Hashas. Gilyonei Hashas declares a chakira. He wants to know, let's say, instead of burning chametz, let's say a person was mavatel the chametz in shishim. Let's say the chametz was thrown into or fell into 60 times the amount of it. Can you be mekayim the mitzvah of bir chametz by being mavatel? Well, says Rabbi Yosef Engel, it would be l'chayra be dependent on the machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, in the pshat in the pasuk of v'hishbati chayara min haaretz. Or how do we understand the mitzvah of tashbisu? If tashbisu means utterly get rid of it from this world, like Rabbi Yehuda shita, the wild animals will be removed, you have to destroy the chametz. Well, the chametz is still ba'olam. You may not be able to find it. It might be batel, but it's still ba'olam. Masha'ein kain in Reb Shimon, where all you have to do is remove the wildness of the chametz, remove my ownership of the chametz. L'chayra, being mevatel the chametz and shishim would also be sufficient. So what we're learning from this subject is how to read words of Torah. We know the words of the Nevi'im can be learned as an allegory, but the Rambam and the Ravid argue whether psukim in the Torah can also be, whether psukim in the Torah can also only have a allegorical meaning, or are we insistent that the literal meaning is utilized as well? Additionally, we pointed out that depending on the meaning of the mitzvah of the prophecy of Hishbati Chayara min haaretz, there would be a corresponding machlokes how we understand the mitzvah of tashbisu by chametz. Does it mean to completely destroy it from the world, the same way Rabbi Yehuda says Hishbati Chayara min haaretz means by the animals in the future, or is it merely nullification like Rashi and the Ran, the same way Reb Shimon holds in the Sifra that Hishbati Chayara min haaretz means just remove their wildness? Well, we hope to discover very soon the true meaning of Hishbati Chayara min haaretz with the fulfillment of the prophecy of the Navi Yeshaya, V'gar ze'ev im keves, v'namer im gedi yerbats. May we be zoicha to see ki mala haaretz deya, kamayim layam mechasim.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.